I don't have to worry about a good hair day. All right, am I framed up? I'm framed up. Okay, good. Hi there, everybody. Sister Terry Berney here. We here at the Archdiocese are starting a new web series, and we just thought that we'd like to reach out to people and explain to them a little bit more about Catholicism, maybe the life of nuns, and sharing your life with God and Jesus. One of the things that really prompted us to do this is that a lot of my students, I teach high school, very connected to social media, so we knew if we wanted to reach out to the younger people that this would be the best way to do that. And as my students like to call me Sister Terry Berney, it's actually Sister Teresa Bernadette after Teresa the Little Flower and Saint Bernadette of Lourdes, but that's too much for them to say, so it's Sister Terry Berney. A lot of the young girls, a lot of times will just ask me, Sister, why did you pick this life? Why do you want to be a nun? Sidebar, I'm actually not a nun, I'm a sister. Nuns are actually women who live their lives behind the convent walls or monastery wall and don't really interact with the public too much unless you go to Mass and see them. But I'm a sister that's out in the world, so technically I'm a sister, not a nun. But be that as it may, they're still going to ask, why did you want to be a nun? And I usually start with, well, because Ryan Gosling rejected me. And that really gets their attention. And I tell them, I've been a nun for 10 years. I had a whole life before I became a nun. And I was actually a vice president at a rather large marketing firm in Atlanta. And I used to do a lot of product placement. We do cause-related marketing. We do product placement in movies and things like that. And I was making really, really good money. I was working a ton of hours, though, and just really burned out, being passed over for promotions. I dated a man for 5 years, Chuck. He was below my pay grade, but, being the ambitious person I was kind of tired of all the marketing guys that I would meet. And so Chuck was just a little less pressure. And but after 5 years, that relationship ended. Ended up going to a premiere party that Ryan Gosling was at because a lot of our products were in his movie as part of the product placement. Actually spent a lot of time talking to me, which really made me feel good in light of the fact that I just broken up with Chuck. And it told me that he would probably like to give me a call sometime. Well, of course, he never gave me a call. And at that point, I had just been working 90-hour, 100-hour weeks to get these products launched. And I was just exhausted morally and physically and spiritually and emotionally. And so I decided to take a 3-day weekend and go and see my parents. And just to let you know, I was born and raised Roman Catholic, but had fallen away from the church really in college. At the point that I went back to see my mom and she suggested that we go to Mass, I had not been to Mass in maybe 10 years. So, yeah, you can hear the train in back. I was like, no, Mom, I don't want to do that. And she goes, well, we'll go to Golden Corral afterwards, which we used to do as a little kid. So I'm like, all right, Saturday night Mass, and we'll go to Golden Corral. That's awesome. So we went, and I remember kneeling and just kind of closing my eyes and praying. And my mind got really still, which for me was really incredible because being somebody who's a very caffeinated vice president of marketing, my mind's always going. And I thought for a second I was having a stroke. I'm like, holy crap, what is this? But it was just being able to reflect. And then the priest got up and gave a sermon of, what does it mean to be happy? How do we find happiness in our world? And I mean, that was just a question that everybody goes for, but he really hit it on the head for me. And I was really quiet during dinner. And, my mom brought me, the marshmallows that you dip in chocolate, which I love. And I just was thinking, and I was really quiet. And she goes, well, what's wrong? And I said, it was just really nice there. I just felt like I had connected. And she's like, well, you can come back next week and go to this, or, there's certainly Catholic churches where you live. You can start going to Mass again, which she really wanted me to do. And so I started to. And I would just find so much peace when I went. And I would take myself out to dinner afterwards. And I didn't care that I didn't have a date on a Saturday night. I didn't really give a crap. And I made sure that I did not work on a Saturday night so I could make that to myself, or Sunday morning if that's what it was. And I just felt like that's where I belonged. So I kept going to work, kept on doing that for about 6 months, and then finally said, you know what? I think being a teacher would make me happy. I think being a nun and teaching at a school would make me happy. And the people at work were like, what? That's nuts. That's crazy talk. You're just going through some sort of crisis, you know? Before you become a sister, you have a period of discernment, which is sort of your dating engagement period. And you decide if this is really going to be what's for you, which I think is brilliant. You can't just say, okay, I'm off men. They tick me off. Now I'm going to be a nun. And a week later, you're a nun. That's not how it works. So I, during my period of discernment, got my degree in teaching. And I mean, I have to tell you, I just love working with kids. And just to have gotten that degree and to be able to get up and work in high school with kids, you know, an age that people think is really difficult, I love it. I've never loved anything more in my entire life. And I realized that this is the way that I can serve God. And so I am the communications instructor. I also teach communications and marketing at the local community college. And, you know, my kids just have such a good time in the classes, and I have such a good time teaching them, and I learn as much from them as I know that they learn from me. And it's just being able to do this, to be able to serve God, to be able to serve Jesus in the way that I'm doing it, it gives me such a sense of peace. I love it. It's just so much better than that treadmill I was on. You know, I think of the person I was 10 years ago. That's not even remotely the person I am anymore. So I just want you to kind of see nuns for humans and know that we had a whole life before we decided to do this. I did not start as a toddler and decide that I was going to be a sister. This is just something that really came to me late in life. And a lot of sisters have really interesting stories. I mean, I really love the women I live with. Someday it can be challenging, particularly when most of us are menopausal or perimenopausal. But I mean, overall, we have Friday night game nights like anybody else. My name is Sister Terry Berney. And I'll be back with you every week just talking about different topics, and I hope that you'll click back, and God bless, and have a great week.
Oh, look who came for a visit. It's Sister Mary Cat. Sister Mary Cat. Oh, we love our Sister Mary Cat because she's so cute, and she's dressed just like me.
That was a total coincidence, by the way. She was actually a stray that came to our house, and we saw her, and she was a lot smaller, and we just all fell in love with her. So she's our kitty. Yes, she is, and we love her so much. Yes, we do. Yes, we go. Okay, Sister Mary Cat, why don't you go? Thank you.